Welcome to Not This, Not That, where we push our boundaries of understanding and perception. I am your host, Reverend Ariel Patricia, and I invite you to join me as we open to the possibility that things may not be exactly as you believe, as you've been told, that there could be more, that in our collective consciousness is the potential for the all. You can find Not This, Not That on sacredstories.com and on Apple Podcasts and all streaming services. Today, we are expanding our boundaries of understanding on WalkIns and the cosmology of our soul as we unravel the mysteries of our eternal souls. Our guest is Sheila Seppi, author of the fascinating book WalkIns and the Cosmology of the Soul, and creator of an incredible course on sacred you by the same name. So welcome, Sheila Seppi, to Not This, Not That.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to speak with you because the topic of walk-ins and the cosmology, the larger cosmology of our souls, I find really fascinating. And I know that, I believe that people are really ready for this deeper conversation. So let's start with you explaining what is a walk-in soul.
Well, a walk-in is a soul that has agreed to shift places, to swap with another soul at a particular point in time. And this is always a pre-agreed upon situation. There's never like a hostile takeover. It's always when the one soul is ready to leave, they have completed their mission and another soul will step in.
Thank you for clarifying right up front that this is a pre-agreed upon situation, because I think that that's the first thing that people ask or people question is, does this just happen to people, or is this something that they've agreed to?
Yes, I believe that we all have a pre-birth plan before we come onto this planet. And in that plan is the fact that we will become a walk-in at a particular point, at a particular time. And the stage is set for the souls to exchange with each other.
So you are a walk-in soul, correct?
That's correct.
Can you share your experience of becoming a walk-in soul, what that was like?
Sure. Prior to becoming a walk-in, starting in my 20s and for the next really 18 years, I had a whole host of diseases and symptoms that plagued my physical body. I had initially been told they thought I had brain tumors, that I would have MS, I would be walking with a cane. Later on, be in a wheelchair. Actually, I did walk with a cane in my late 30s. I had bone cancer, had a oncologist from Duke University. Seems like every type of autoimmune disease out there I had. And so on the night of September, I went to bed a very sick person. And I had a very firm religious belief system. I thought I knew who I was. I thought I knew my place in the universe. And what seemed like 7 o'clock the next morning felt like someone reached down, grabbed me by the hair of my head. I sat bolt right up in bed, and it felt as if lightning was running through my body. And then I was in white space. And I don't know how long I was in white space, but it was a very comforting space. I had no pain. And as I began to come back to myself, my peripheral vision came in first, and then my frontal vision. And as I looked around the room, everything was exactly the same, but everything was different. And I had different spiritual gifts that had awakened. I wasn't even aware of what spiritual gifts was. I had no metaphysical background whatsoever, so I would have never, ever once thought that I was a walk-in soul. As time went on, I noticed that my personality had changed. Everyone around me noticed my personality had changed. I had very few memories of growing up. I had disconnections between myself and other family members. Now, when I came in, I had an immediate love for my children and for my parents and sister, but Those people around me, even my husband at the time, I was very, very disconnected from all of my friends, all of my family. Within a very short period of time, within 3 months, actually, I had left the marriage. Within another 3 months, I left my job, moved to another state, and that's where I found my first spiritual teacher, who I actually went to because she was a psychologist, and I was hoping to actually, she would write me a prescription and life would get back to normal for me, because that was the reality I was operating in.
So Sheila, were you afraid or scared, or I would imagine that besides being very confused for a period of time, was there any fear, or did you feel that maybe this was, something was very right about what was happening?
I was very concerned about what happened because of all the personality changes, lifestyle changes, loss of memory, loss of disconnect with family and friends. But all of a sudden, my illnesses had gone away, and I began to change my lifestyle. All of a sudden, I was able to get down in the floor and play with my children, which was not something that was a normal thing for me, because I had a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 12-year-old at the time. When I came into this body, I believe that the person prior to this must not have had very much self-esteem or even self-awareness, because there were so many things in my life that shifted. I came in with a great deal of confidence, yet there was a lot of trepidation because I could not understand what was happening to me.
So how did you mentioned seeing a psychiatrist or looking for psychiatric help as one way, but what brought you to the place of looking for spiritual understanding? You mentioned that you had a very religious upbringing.
Yes. When I moved to another state and was about to accept another position, I had gone to visit the area where we would be moving so I could find out about the school systems, look at the housing opportunities for me and the children. And when I stayed overnight in a hotel, I found a telephone directory, and I just picked it up, started flipping through it, and in the back was an ad for spiritual counseling. And because I had a religious background, the word spiritual felt pretty safe to me. And because it had counseling, and my background had been in psychology, that also felt safe to me. And so when I sought this person out, it was to really help me recover memories. It was to help me understand what was happening to me, and possibly, like I said, write a prescription, because that's where my mind was at the time. But fortunately for me, this psychologist was actually a Hopi lineage, and she was a spiritual teacher. And she began to work with me and helped me to understand that I was a walk-in. And it took a long time. I had the knowing that I was a walk-in, but it took me a long time to be able to wrap my brain around that concept and to be able to operate from, a place of soul.
How old were your children? Just curious, when this experience first happened.
My son was 3, my daughter was 6, and my oldest daughter was 12.
I would imagine, and we'll talk about other types of souls in just a moment, but the walk-in phenomena is happening to others. You're one of the walk-ins, and you've been sharing and teaching on the experience in walk-ins for a period of time. But I would imagine that your experience, sharing your personal experience with it, is really probably just as valuable, if not more valuable, than even the spiritual studies, because it's kind of a roadmap, or it gives someone else hope that's experiencing, whether it's this type of a walk-in experience or others, in order to know that, they're not alone, and there's resources not only for them, but maybe for their families and people they're in relationships with.
Yeah. Yeah. There are several different types of soul experiences, with walk-ins being one of them, Kundalini awakenings or spiritual awakenings. All of these three types of soul experiences have a lot of things in common, such as, all of a sudden the immediate feeling of connection to all, that feeling of expansion, that deep sense of spirituality or of knowing things. Like for me, when I came in, all of a sudden I knew things that I didn't even believe in. And that really rocked my world, because I thought I was having a psychotic break, because how could I know these types of things? But a lot of times people will get to the same place that I naturally came to through a variety of like studies and really in-depth personal work.
So you said there's a variety of different types of walk-in souls. So a walk-in is when, as you explained, a soul agrees on both ends, the person embodied and the soul coming in, to exchange, right? So the soul, right. One soul leaves, the other soul comes in. That's one type of a walk-in experience. Is that your experience? Is that, and part two of the question is if you can then maybe explain what the types of walk-in experiences are.
Yes, I am what you would call a soul exchange. And after being in this body for about 20 years, it became very clear to me, and I received guidance from my spiritual team, that it was time to write a book and to share my experience. And as I did so, I decided that I wanted to bring other people in, initially because I was seeking community. I wanted to interview other types of walk-ins. And to be honest, I was really surprised to find that there was such a, for a lack of better term, variety of walk-ins, because in addition to soul exchanges, there's what's called a soul infusion. And a soul infusion would be when someone really begins to embody more of their higher self or more of their oversoul essence. The other type would be a soul braid. And a soul braid is when you actually have two souls that inhabit the body. They are basically separate and side by side. Then we have what's called a soul overlay. And a soul overlay is when we have a soul that comes in and basically covers the other soul like a neoprene suit. And they're still separate, but it covers it. And it can act as a battery charger. It can serve as a placeholder so the other soul can leave and obtain some type of healing. It can actually end up merging with that soul, so the two then become one. Then there's what's called soul jumpers. And jumpers are very temporary walk-ins that will come in and out over a period of hours, days, or weeks. Then there's what's called soul layering. And this is when you have multiple multidimensional aspects of yourself that incarnate and are part of the original natal soul. And when a certain experience happens, they become activated, and one soul will come forward and it will help with particular goals, or it might help with a project. It may help someone through a very serious illness. And then the others, that soul, that aspect would recede, and then another soul part would come forward. But this type of soul comes in at birth. So it's almost like an activation of that multidimensional aspect of them.
I was going to say the multidimensional soul layering that you're talking about sounds a little bit different, and almost as if that could be what many people have. We have many, aspects of our souls that work with us at different times in our lives when we need them or when we're ready for them. And I believe that I probably could think of some people right off that I, probably think that that's happening too. A couple questions just for clarity. Do you have any just even anecdotal statistics or evidence on what types of maybe walk-in souls are more prominent than others? Is it an exchange? Is that the most common type? And just more curiosity.
I am finding the more people that I talk to, I believe that it is pretty much even with the people that understand and know that they are a soul, that they have a walk-in. The soul exchange is what people typically think of when they think of a walk-in, because that's one soul out and another soul in, and that soul remains permanently. And so that's, again, that's what I am. These other types, the soul infusion, the braids, the overlays, the jumper, even these multidimensional aspects, I believe are very common out there, but a lot of people don't understand what's really happened to them. And that was one of the goals of the book, is to provide a variety of stories that people could read and possibly be able to connect to. And I've had many people to contact me and say, what you said about the soul infusion resonates, but it also resonates with the jumper, and it resonates with this, and it resonates with that. So I believe that right now we have so many of our star family members that are out there ready to come in to assist this planet and our spiritual expansion, that when given the opportunity, they're basically just flooding this planet right now.
The the idea of the walk-in experience and all of these different types. What's really fascinating about the book that you've written is, in addition to your own experience, like you said, and explaining this, you have a number of interviews, right, where people have told their stories. And so your book, WalkIn and the Cosmology of the Soul, I think is really such a great service to people who whether they have a curiosity on the topic, or they think that something similar may have happened to them, or they just don't even understand what is happening to them. Being able to read other people's personal stories, I don't know of a better way to open up, to feel some connection, and take hopefully a lot of the even trauma around the events that are happening for people. Take it away.
Yes. And, one of the other things that I discovered in writing the book is the origins of our souls, because there are so many different locations, if you will, that we come from. And I believe that's for every single person on this planet, not just for a walk-in soul. We have people who are what's called earth seeds. And these are souls that have agreed to incarnate at the same time that Gaia placed her consciousness in the planet. And they are kind of having this experience. As she evolves, they evolve. Now, obviously, everyone on the planet right now is also attached, but these are people who have come in and been with her since the very beginning. Then we have what's called source seeds, and these are souls that have never incarnated, never been imprinted upon, and they're coming directly in from source. Then we have souls that are also coming to this planet that are coming from different dimensions, whether it's interdimensional, extra-dimensional, wherever it's from. They're also coming in right now. Some of the people that I interviewed said that they had come from the 13th dimension. Another one said they came from the 7th dimension. We have also what's called star seeds that are from other planets that come in. We have angelic souls that are from the angelic realm that will come in. We have indigos and crystals and rainbows and wanderers. And we have hybrid souls. And hybrid souls are very much akin to the multi-dimensional aspects that come in with people, because a hybrid soul will bring multiple aspects of itself that are very much aware of where they come from.
I love that this is all included in your book, and it's also included in your course on Sacred You, where you actually present on all of this information, and you have some beautiful visuals and quite a bit of information. Your course on Sacred You is at courses.sacredstories.com, and the whole first module is free for people to, which is called The Anatomy of the Soul, where you share so much information. How does this, Sheila, relate to, or does it relate to our soul families and soul groups that people resonate with?
One of the teachings that I received after being here probably 10 years from my guides and teachers was the fact, because at first I was like, okay, so all right, I'm accepting that I am a walk-in soul, but how does this happen? Where did I come from, et cetera, et cetera. And as it was explained to me, we have what's called the oversoul, but to me they said the Sheantiaskaan. And the Sheantiaskaan holds all of our memories, all of our thoughts, all of our deeds, all of the information that we've ever experienced. So it's kind of like our own personal, iCloud storage or Akasha. Then as we begin to incarnate onto this planet, a small portion will come into the physical form. That portion that remains attached to that oversoul or Sheantiaskaan is called our higher self. And as it gets denser and denser and denser and attaches to the physical body, then that becomes our soul. And our soul is the personality of this particular lifetime. A lot of people wonder, well, what about the spirit? Well, the spirit actually is part of this entire process because the spirit comes in and it helps to enliven our auric field where all of our emotional, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies are located. And the spirit is really the action portion of our soul, higher selves, Sheantiaskaan. When we are in the Sheantiaskaan, it has a certain vibrational resonance and vibrates at a certain frequency. That frequency will draw to itself like frequencies of other Sheantiaskaan. So when you have multiple Sheantiaskaan vibrating at the same frequency, they come together, and that's what's called a soul family. And when you have multiple soul families that resonate at a similar frequency, they come together, and that's called a soul group.
So Sheila, the information is, it's fascinating. Like we could talk all day about it, but why do you think, or do you think that this phenomenon, the walk-in phenomenon and the connection with the understanding of star seeds and earth seeds and source seeds do you believe that it's intentional, that it seems that it's happening so frequently now? And is that the reason that people should know about it or dig into it? I guess I'm looking for the greater why. What's your greater why to explain this?
Well, there's kind of two answers to that. One is I believe walk-ins have been on this planet throughout history. Now with the internet, with all of the education and where humanity is as a whole with their spiritual awareness, we're able to much more readily identify things of the spirit, of the soul. And I think that more and more walk-ins are coming to this planet because they want to be part of what's going on here on the earth. Because it's my belief that we're undergoing a spiritual revolution, a waking up, and that Gaia herself and humanity in unison are vibrating at a frequency that's going to be able to allow us, I hope sooner than later, to vibrate into a fifth dimensional reality, which a lot of people call the new earth. And so I believe that a lot of people want to be here on this planet at this time to experience what's going on. I think that it's a phenomenon within within our planet, but I believe that within our solar system, very similar things are going on, because if you study anything about our solar system, you will see that all, not just the Earth, all of the planets seem to be vibrating at a different resonance or a different frequency. And so if it's happening here for us, I'm sure that it's happening on other planets as well.
That's a really interesting thought. And it's probably the first time that I've spoken to someone who's really brought it out in that way. Of course, we know we're part of the larger universe and there's life in many different dimensions, but that the idea that what we're experiencing here is also or potentially experienced similarly other places. So it's more of even a larger collective
Yes.
experience than maybe we're really tuning into yet. I think
Yes.
that is really actually fascinating. So Sheila, what would you say? What would your best advice be to someone who feels that they possibly are or have had a soul experience like this? What would you tell them?
Well, one of the most readily available pieces of information is that course that I put together that's on Sacred You, WalkIns, the Cosmology of the Soul. There are 5 different modules that people can actually study. They can rewind, they can watch. There are handouts that they can take this information and read and discover for themselves. The other thing would be to really try to drop into a deep connection within yourself, to reach out even and connect with your guides, with your teachers, with whoever your soul team is. And then if you know other people who have had spiritual experiences, try to connect with them. See what their experiences are, because I think this is for me, I know one of the largest pieces of my personal growth has been that connection and communication with other walk-ins. And so we even, I have a group that meets, actually it meets on the first Thursday of every month, and it meets at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, where we have walk-ins that come together. We have star seeds that come together. We share our stories, and we also have a little bit of training. And so with one of the upcoming events, we're having some training on light language, because I believe that each of us, whether we're a walk-in or not, our DNA is encoded with light and light frequencies. And these frequencies can be activated, and people will begin to speak the language of their soul, which in my opinion is the light language. So anyone is welcome. They could go to cosmicsoulsonearth.com and register, and I will invite them. These are free meetings that are held on Zoom. They're about 2 hours. So if they don't have people that they can communicate with, please get a hold of us. I can also be contacted at Sheilaseppi.com if they have any questions. I'd be happy to work with people, because I feel so blessed that I had my spiritual community and my spiritual teacher leading me down this path. Because if you're having a soul experience of any type, it can be very lonely. It can be very scary. It can cause you to really question your own sanity. And there's nothing better than getting together with like minds to really feel like you're at home.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. And Sheila's website also is SheilaSeppi.com. So that's SheilaSeppi.com. So we've been speaking with Sheila Seppi, who's the author of, she is a walk-in soul, and the author of her book, WalkIns and the Cosmology of the Soul, and also the creator of the course by the same name at Sacred You, where she really just brings the information to life, honestly, with her beautiful visual presentations, meditations, and multiple handouts for you to really deepen into the material. Sheila, this has been such an incredible conversation. Do you have any final last words that you would like to leave with the audience?
Actually, what I would like to say to everyone is to drop in, to find some time to sit, to just be, to calm your mind, to drop into the essence of who you truly are, and to allow the universe to speak to you, and to allow your soul to begin to speak to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila Seppi, for joining us for this truly soul-expanding conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And so everyone, again, please check out Sheila's website, SheilaSeppi.com, and Sheila's course on Sacred You at courses.sacredstories.com. We are eternal souls living in an infinite universe, and there is just so much to explore, so much to experience. I invite everyone, to tune in, as Sheila has as well. So I am your host, Rev Ariel Patricia. I thank you for joining us, and you have been listening to Not This, Not That.